Hello, hello, hello.
Hey.
Um, so first and foremost, I'll start off by saying Happy Founders Day to you, sir.
Oh, thank you. As I represent for the
As y'all
great
kick
men
off the
on the stage,
January birthdays, because
as I
January,
as I celebrate 100 years 111, excuse me, years
I was gonna say
of
it's more than 100.
achievement in every field of human endeavor. Happy Founders Day to all the members of that noble clan, my brothers in the bond of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So nice, we named it twice. So, well, thank you, ma'am, and I thank you for your birthday wishes. And yeah, we had a great break. Yeah, we did. Did you rest well?
I did. Yeah, I did. I mean, I didn't rest. It didn't. My break didn't go the way I thought it would go because I had family dealing with COVID and things like that. But yeah, but it was okay. I
Okay,
mean, the good news is they're all well. They recovered, so that's a blessing. But yeah, but it was good. It was a nice break, And then we had a couple of extra days because we had some snow days, so I can't complain. I can't complain.
good.
Yeah. So we are back like we never left. Now, first of all, let me start. First of all, let me say this. Welcome back to everyone who is listening on the replay. Everyone who is in the chat, who might come in the chat, all that good stuff. Catching us on Apple Music or Google Play, all those wonderful platforms that we are on. Yeah, quintessential. We're gonna be talking about that. We absolutely going to be talking about that. But I want to let everybody know that we have some plans and some goals for the Teacher Project 2.0 for 2022. First and foremost, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can get ourselves monetized over here on YouTube. The monetization helps us to support the channel, helps us to keep upkeep and do different things that we want to do. So it is a labor of love, but we definitely want to get ourselves to that point. So anybody who is listening to this, listening to us, please subscribe to the channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, and if you are, tell a friend about us. Okay, we got a lot of good stuff going on over here. So I'm saying all these things. Y'all know El Teddy ain't gonna say it, but I'm saying all these things.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Press the like button. Hit
All
the
that good.
notification bell.
Yeah.
And for all, so that you're notified every time we upload and we're gonna go live. Really B is usually pretty good about scheduling them, and so you'll get the notifications and stuff like that. So subscribe. This is the only place I get to say that, so I will take advantage of that.
Um,
Please like,
we
share.
also want to thank our loyal crew. You guys are here, you guys are loyal, and so thank you for another year as we march into 2022. So I just wanted to go ahead and say
Also,
that.
special thanks to
Oh, wait
Quintessential.
a minute, quintessential. I didn't know that. Okay, well, first of all, we want to start with El Teddy, but we're going to get. Oh, thank you. Oh, I did not know that, quintessential. Oh, what's getting ugly up
Um,
there in Chicago? We're
Let
going
me
to talk about that.
say thank you to Quintessential, who always gives us a shout out on the
Always,
Twitter
always, and she shares
and
us
things
on her
like that.
LinkedIn
She
and
shares our
all of that.
so yeah.
Yeah, she shares us on her LinkedIn and everything else. So thank you so much, quintessential, for always being that supporter to us. And
Let me
yeah.
lubricate.
So yeah, El Teddy needs to take a drink real quick. Not alcoholic. He's non-alcoholic. It's a 7-Up. But he is getting ready to give us. Y'all remember when this whole panorama started, and El Teddy used to go down the list for us and let us know what was going on in each state as far as the schools are concerned. Well, he is getting ready to give us. He's getting ready to give it to us again, like he never
All right,
left. Okay, he back like we never left.
back like we never left. Come
So
on
El
now.
Teddy, I give you the floor,
That'll
sir.
give you a chance to search for some stuff.
No, we good, especially since
No,
I'm
the
gonna
stuff
look
that
up.
Quintessential.
Oh yeah. I'm about to look up the update. Yeah, because Quintessential done gave us some updates, honey. Yeah, you
Yeah.
right. You right.
All right. All right. Let's do this. Let's be about this life. All right. Let's do this. All right. So going to start off with three general updates. Well, no, not even going to go with those general updates. let's start with, I'm going to go state by things that we know in terms of mask requirements from respective states, okay? Things that we know about mask requirements in schools, all right? So, as of, and this is, our information is coming from Ballotpedia. That's a very good resource for a lot of for anything political in terms of numbers, stats, and data and stuff like that. They compile and disaggregate a whole lot of data into a comprehensive and easy to go through way. So this is from Ballotpedia. So as of December 23rd, masks were required in schools by 16 states. 29 states left mask requirements in schools up to local authorities. 5 states banned school mask requirement. Here's some specifics. Maryland's school mask requirement only applied to school districts that did not meet certain coronavirus-related criteria. Nevada's school mask requirement only applied to districts with more than 100,000 residents. New Mexico's school mask requirement only applied to unvaccinated individuals and all individuals in elementary school. Massachusetts schools could become exempt from the school mask requirement when at least 80% of the students were vaccinated. And Louisiana school districts could be exempt from the mask requirement if they follow CDC quarantine guidance. All right. So here are some specific mandates. In Arizona, masks are banned by legislative action. They were banned by legislative action. That ban was suspended by court action on September 26th. That's the last we have. In Arkansas, masks were banned by legislative action, but then that was suspended on September 30th, 2021 by court action. In California, masks are requirement by California Department of Health order. In Connecticut, they're required by executive order. In Delaware, they're required by executive order. In Florida, they are banned by executive order. In Hawaii, they are required by executive order. In Illinois, they are required by the Illinois Department of Public Health order. In Iowa, they are banned by legislative action. However, that was temporarily suspended on September 13th, 2021 by court action. In Kentucky, it is required by the Kentucky Board of Education, order. However, that was then suspended. That requirement was suspended by a state law that was passed on September 9th, 2021. In Louisiana, it's required by executive order. But on October 26th, school districts could exempt from the school mask requirement, like I said earlier, if they follow CDC guidance, quarantine guidance. In Maryland, it is required by the Maryland State Board of Education order. On December 7th, school districts could be exempt from the school mask requirement if they met one of the 3 following criteria. 1, the county vaccination rate was 80% or higher. 2, 80% of the school staff and students were vaccinated. Or 3, COVID-19 transmission in the county was considered moderate or low for 14 straight days. In Massachusetts, it is a requirement by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education order. On October 1st, schools could become exempt from the school mask requirement when at least 80% of students were vaccinated. In Nevada, masks are required by executive order. In New Jersey, same thing. In New Mexico, masks are required by New Mexico Public Education Department order. In New York, they're required by executive order. In Oklahoma, they are banned by executive order. In Oregon, they are requirement by the Oregon Health Authority and Department of Education order. In Pennsylvania, they are required by the Pennsylvania Department of Health. However, on December 10th, that order was suspended by court action. In Rhode Island, they are required by executive order. In South Carolina, they are banned by legislative action. However, that ban was temporarily suspended by court action on September 28, 2021. In Tennessee, they are banned by executive order. In Texas, they are banned by executive order. In Utah, they are banned by legislative action. In Virginia, they are required by Virginia Department of Health order, and in the state of Washington, they are required by Washington State Department of Public Health. Here are the teacher and school employee vaccine requirements that we know of thus far. In the state of California, there is a vaccine requirement order. It's the California. It was made by the California Department of Public Health on October 15th, 2021. You can choose testing instead of vaccination. In Connecticut, there is a vaccine mandate for teachers and staff by executive order, and that was on September 27th, 2021. You cannot choose to have testing instead of vaccine. You have to get vaccine. That's Connecticut. In Delaware, Illinois, New Jersey, and New York all have requirements of teachers and staff to be vaccinated by executive order, and all of those states do allow for testing as opposed to the vaccine. Oregon and Washington, there's a mandate for teachers and staff to have vaccine by executive order. You cannot choose to not be vaccinated and do the testing. You don't have that option. Student requirements. Here are some states that are requiring student. California right now has vaccine requirements for eligible students, and Louisiana right now has vaccine requirements for eligible students. On October 1st, California became the first state to announce a vaccine requirement for eligible students. Louisiana also announced a vaccine requirement for eligible students on December 14th. All right, and I'm looking down the states to see if I have any other recent news over the last month. On December 13th, in the state of Delaware, Governor John Carney formally extended the state school mask requirement until February 8th, 2022. Let me see. I'm looking for anything December and forward because I don't want to go back too far. In Louisiana, I already told you all about Louisiana requirement of vaccines for students 16 and older. Well, let me read this. Governor John Bel Edwards announced that the Louisiana Department of Health would add the coronavirus vaccine to the list of required vaccinations for students 16 and older, overriding the Louisiana House of Representatives Health and Welfare Committee's December 6th vote against the policy. He said parents could submit a written objection to opt out. I already told you about Maryland. Let's see. And down to the O's. In Pennsylvania, on December 10th, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court struck down the statewide mask mandate requirement, upholding a lower court's ruling that Acting Health Secretary Allison Beam lacked the authority to require masks in schools. Rhode Island, on December 13th, Governor Dan McKee extended the state's school mask requirement through January 8th, 2022. All right, in the great state of Texas, where your governor is Governor Hot Wheels, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit reversed a lower court's injunction on Governor Greg Abbott's school mask requirement ban, allowing the executive order to be enforced. And those are my updates. I can't hear you. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm having some technical issues over here today. My computer is, playing games. But with all of that being said, it seems to me, and we're going to get to Chicago in a moment because there's a lot going on in Chicago. It's changing by the minute, child, up there in Chicago. What it seems to me is that nobody, and I get it from a business point of view, I get it. Nobody wants to just make a blanket decision to close schools. It looks like they want to do it on a school by school basis rather than a system by system basis.
Patronette Watts, fellow teacher.
Here's what I'm going to say. Yeah, I saw Trinette Watson there. Welcome. She said she's an educator from New York, so welcome. Here's what I'm going to say about this. And I know this is about to be a very crass comparison. And El Teddy, you tell me if you think it's accurate. If you live in an apartment building, let's say we live in an apartment building, and there is a roach infestation. We don't know who did it. We don't know how they got here. It just is what it is. Maintenance sends in the exterminators, and they treat the apartments. But there are 3 people who say, nope, I don't want you in my apartment. I don't care if you are here to get rid of the roaches. I'll do it myself. I'm going to go buy some Raid, and we're going to be good. Here's the problem. That apartment building is never going to get rid of the infestation. Because not everyone is getting the same treatment. If Raid worked, we would never need an exterminator, right? So I say that to say, when we talk about this situation that we're in, we're never going to effectively tackle it if there's no uniform way that we're going to address it. Now, tell me if that's a bad comparison or what. You see what I'm saying with that?
It's not. It's not bad. It's not off. It's not. It's not. I like the comparison. It's definitely not a bad comparison. I just, at this point, look at where we are, and I hate to go this far left or take it to this extreme.
Thank you, YBS, Mary.
Look how we are about the Second Amendment.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying? We are way all over the place with that.
Facts. And that's why we still have mass shootings. That's why we still have. You see, in Michigan, now kids have to have clear book bags. That's their answer.
But here's the thing: if we can't come to some agreement when people's children are dying, little children are dying.
Yeah.
I
knew there was when and I'm not being crass, but when we had that situation happen at the elementary school
in Sandy Hook,
I knew then. I said, well, if they don't give a damn about first graders, I don't stand a chance. That's just that. You don't care about a first grader, then I know we don't stand a chance.
So, and the reason that we wanted to start with the updates on that is we know that in a lot of areas these numbers are spiking in a lot of areas, and that's requiring perhaps school districts to figure out whether or not they want to go back to remote learning. And let's be clear, I'm gonna just put this out there and really you can go with it if you want, or you could not, because my political side is going to eventually show itself. In a lot of ways, this administration mirrors the previous in a lot of ways with a lot of things. Let me be very open and honest about it, because just the same way the previous administration was able to manipulate the CDC and their guidance that they put out, we saw this with this administration. Remember when this administration first came in, and the first thing we heard was It went from 6 feet to 3 feet in schools. Really, be remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, immediately, and that was this administration. And so now you have them talking about, oh, only quarantining for 5 days and all kinds of other foolishness. Just and the rest of the science community is looking at these people like they've lost their minds. So now the people who we were supposed to look for to give us guidance about science are not the people who we should look for. The administration who we thought was going to give us guidance with regard to how to move forward with schools. Cardona ain't been doing nothing. Let's just be very clear. His whole thing is we need to be back in school. That's all he said. That is all he said.
So here's the thing. I 120% agree with you. I said this a long time ago, and I will continue to say it until I get tired of saying it, I guess. But, and I literally just had this conversation with my best friend. We were literally just having this conversation a few minutes ago. This pandemic showed you, to the people who were paying attention, showed you that this country only sees us as babysitters for their children. Because let's be clear, this is about keeping the economy going. It's not about kids. It's not about kids learning. It's not about the safety of teachers and children. It's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. And I'm going to tell you why it has nothing to do with it. Because if it were safe for us to go back to work, everybody would be back at work. I'm going to use my school district as an example. Teachers went back in the building after spring break last year. So let's say April. The students came back on remote learning. Some were at home, some came to school. There was not one day that we had more than 100 kids in the building. I work at a school that has over 2,000 students enrolled. There was not one day we had more than 100 kids in the building. Yet, the building stayed open for the remainder of the school year. We came back in the fall to a full throttle. We are back in business. I mean, they gave us some wipes and some hand sanitizer, but for the most part, we are back in business, right? But guess who's still working from home in my district? Human resources, payroll, anybody that's in central office, they're still remote. So it's safe for students to go back in the classroom and it's safe for teachers to go back in the building, but the rest of them get to stay home. Make it make sense. Because if it's safe for one part of the district, why isn't it safe for all of the district? Federal employees are still at home. I have friends who work for the federal government. They're still at home. And there are no plans to bring them back. But Biden and Cardona can stand here and talk about how important it is for schools to be open. If it's so freaking safe, why everybody not back at work? See, that's my thing. It's the hypocrisy for me. Make that make sense. That's my problem. Again,
here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. While we're passing infrastructure bills, you could have carved out part of that bill to ensure that every student in America has some type of device that they can do online learning. That every area, be it rural, be it urban, has access to broadband so that you can continue education. And also, if you really wanted to be serious about this, Cardona and the Department of Education, what you would have been doing over the last year or two that we've been dealing with this is you would have had the foresight to say, this, even if this ends, just in case something like this arises again, we are going to strategize, we are going to research, and we will get with professionals and stakeholders and come up with a plan where we know how to effectively and efficiently educate students remotely, where we have professional developments for these professional educators and support staff and faculty, so that they know exactly how to effectively, keep education moving. Because let's be clear, we can't afford to have years and years and years of lapses in education. We all agree to that. But everybody's dropping the ball in. You know how they always say we didn't have the imagination of mind when they talked about 9/11, like we just didn't imagine that this could happen. And I think that's happening in education. They don't want to imagine that there could be, for a foreseeable time, remote education. So they're not even willing to try to say, let's see how we can, try to come up with pedagogy and credible research and strategies and skills that work for online instruction, and that we can start to do professional development. Because all of this back and forth is horrible right now. A child who started ninth grade in the 2021 school year may not ever have a full year in a building. And you're talking about the entirety of their high school time, where you have this transition back and forth, in and out, back and forth, where there's no learning at all. That's a generation of kids. What happens when they enter the workforce? And we were already at an education gap. We were already at a gap educationally, globally. We were already, at a bad place globally. But we're just two people, really, be just here. We're just two professionals who've worked in this field for decades now. We're just here.
I mean, pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. So yeah, for me, that's just my frustration with it, is that it's just the hypocrisy for me. Because again, if it were really about keeping kids in school, and if it was really because it was safe, like, again, you don't have to give me the bull. Just be honest. You ain't got to BS me. Just be honest and say, listen, we need kids in school to keep the economy going.
Crispy's got a whole lot of scoop on him if you need.
Child. Well, I don't even want to talk about it. So let's get into Chicago, child. Let's talk, because there's a lot of going on in Chicago. Now, I had pulled the article, but listen, this situation in Chicago is moving so fast that the article I pulled an hour ago is not even valid anymore. Okay, I had to find an article that was from 15 minutes ago in order for me to keep up with this story. So Chicago Teachers Union, hold on. Oh Lord, I done lost the article. Okay, hold on. Here it is. Okay. All right, I'm trying to find the one. Okay, here's the one from 15 minutes ago. I'm trying to find the most accurate one for you guys. So the title, this is coming from the week, the article of the week, and this is 15 minutes ago. So I'm trying to give you guys the most up to date. Chicago Public Schools canceled Wednesday classes after teachers union vote. So I'm gonna read you the article and then we'll come back, because I think it'll go back and explain how we got here. Chicago Public School officials late Thursday canceled classes for Wednesday, citing a vote by the Chicago Teachers Union to switch to remote learning amid a surge of C-19 cases tied to the Omicron variant. The union said, I know it's Omicron, y'all. I know. The union said 73% of its members approved the motion to switch to remote learning until cases substantially subside or union leaders in the school district approve an agreement for safety protocols. This decision was made with a heavy heart and a singular focus on student and community safety, the teachers union said. The school district characterized the move as a walkout and an illegal work stoppage, and Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot suggested teachers who did not show up to work will be placed on no pay status. Most schools are reopening as planned after the winter break, but some districts have postponed their return to school. Okay, they're talking about other stuff now. Okay. In Chicago, teachers unions and school districts have been sparring over the proper protocols to put in place to keep students, staff, and teachers safe. Chicago Public Schools said it offered teachers 200,000 KN95 masks to return to school. You gonna give them some masks? That's gonna make them feel good? Okay. The teachers union said it's reviewing the offer but received it only minutes before the news conference on the remote learning vote. It isn't clear yet what will happen with the school schedule after Wednesday. So let me go back a little bit because this is sort of giving you the update, but rather than read y'all a whole nother article, let me give you guys a little bit of an update. So schools went back, teachers and students went back to school on Monday after the Christmas break. But an article I just read a few minutes ago said that over 18% of teachers and students in Chicago public schools are positive for COVID as of, I'm assuming, Tuesday. They do have a voluntary testing policy, but the union said the problem is we're testing the same people over and over again because it's not mandatory. So if you're voluntarily submitting to a test, we're not necessarily getting the people that we need to get, and we're not getting a large the sample number we need to make sure that we're safe. So again, we've talked about unions before. Different unions have different collective bargaining. So there must be something in the Chicago Teachers Union collective bargaining that allows them to make this, may have this vote. They voted, and it sounds like the majority, 73%. That is 50 plus 1. That is more than 60%. Whatever your majority is in your collective bargaining, they more than exceeded that, it sounds like. And they didn't say they didn't want to work. They said they wanted to go back to remote learning. So they're not saying, hey, we don't want to go to work. They're saying we want to go back home where we feel safe. Now, Quintessential, who is she lives in Chicago, she said that the superintendent has locked teachers out of their Google Classroom. Google Classroom is the platform that a lot of us used during remote learning, where you could do Zoom or you could do Google Classroom. Most people did one of the two. And so if they lock teachers out of their Google Classroom, then basically you are not allowing teachers to work, because now I'm locked out and I can't get in if I want to. And a mayor, Quintessential said that the mayor has ordered a lockout. Now, in Chicago, just like in DC, the mayor is control of the schools. The superintendent is really just they take care of certain things, but the mayor has control of the schools. The final decision is with the mayor. So yes, that's sort of where we are. Lauren says Chi-Town teachers ain't with the mess. Plus, the weather is pure hellish right now. They're facing a major snowstorm blizzard in the next 48 hours, and it's 13 degrees there. Yeah, the weather is a whole nother situation.
Well, let me also add to. Well, go ahead and finish giving the details.
All I was going to say was I agree. Chicago Teachers Union is no joke. Like, when I worked for the union here in DC, like, we studied them. Their leader, their president at the time, she was no joke. Like, she was diagnosed with brain cancer and had to step down. But she was actually revving up to run for mayor against your boy, the one that worked for
Rahm Emanuel.
Yes, Rahm Emanuel. And she might have won. Like, because nobody liked Rahm Emanuel. Like, nobody liked Rahm Emanuel. But go ahead, El Teddy, say what you need to say, babe.
The whole issue at this point, what the Omicron variant has taught us is that just testing people who are unvaccinated is an exercise in futility, because being vaccinated does not eliminate the chances of you having COVID. Right. And the other sad part, see, here's the part that the Omicron variant is teaching some people, is when we get down to the elementary level, there are a good deal of elementary students who cannot get vaccinated. They just can't.
Karen Lewis, thank you. That's her name.
And the sad thing is, the pediatric hospitals and regular hospitals are overrun now with kids who are catching the Omicron variant and are in ICUs. And the thing about it is, people are just saying, oh, Omicron isn't that bad. because we do have people who are vaccinated, and they, you know, and so it's not that bad. Or even for some that aren't vaccinated, their bodies and immune system is well enough to where they can, you know, not be too bad. But that's not the case with a lot of these small children. And so now, when you talk to healthcare officials, it is sad what you're seeing at some of these places, but they don't care, because we just detailed to you earlier that these people really don't care about your children, their children, or any children, just here or there. All they really care about is power and the almighty dollar. That's all. That's where we are. That is where we are. And for Lori Lightfoot, dear God above, to not even when you have politicians who get to make decisions for entities that they know nothing of. For example, when politicians make decisions for the medical field and hospitals without any, you know, experience or credibility or research in that field, it could be catastrophic. The same thing, I'm not going to say can happen in education, but is happening in education. If we really take real stock in what's going on in the last 24 months in education, if someone had told you when you were studying education and when you were learning the craft and you were learning the pedagogy, that what we have had happen in the last 24 months would happen, you would probably, you know, deduce at the end of the essay where you had to write about that, you would say, that's a worst case scenario. That's a threat level red DEFCON 5 situation where clearly, you know, there's no more education system there, because what we have had has been a whole, excuse my French, clusterfuck. And that is the best word that as an English teacher, that's the best word I could use for it. That's just what we have going on. It is a mess. And we have people who are making decisions and aren't listening to the people who knows what's going on. They're not listening to teachers at all. They're not listening to education professionals. And then we have an education professional who's supposed to be in a position of power, Miguel Cardona, who's doing nothing but just green lighting whatever it is. What do you want, administration? Okay, well, that's what we're going to say. That's what we're going to do. And that's not what we need here. But who am I? I mean, we could have Betsy DeVos for all of this.
You better say it again for the people in the back.
I mean, what are we talking about?
I mean, you know, listen, you again, like I said, you better say it again for the people in the back. If this is what we were gonna walk into, then we might as well just stay with what we had. At least it's the devil, you know.
And let's be clear. Really, B and I were on this platform over a year ago, and we told y'all when we heard Miguel Cardona and we started to look at the resume, we came here. We told y'all. We tried to tell y'all. We tried right here on this platform to say, yeah, this ain't it.
He ain't the answer.
This is not it. We came over here, we said that, and look at what we have. And the problem, and this is where we do what we do here on Teacher Project 2.0, where we focus on our students of color as well as our students that are in the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. We know that there's already an education gap that they came into this pandemic with. And with what's going on now, we have to start to think real world about what this means for the continued education of our children and what this means for them as they do begin to enter. Some that may choose to go to college, the disadvantages they may have, because if you're at a disadvantage when you come into college, the statistics say you're going to drop out. You're going to drop out because that's money you have to spend, and everybody's not going to keep spending money for D's and F's. Then, or if you're talking about someone entering the workforce and you expect people entering certain fields and sectors to come with certain, you know, base level education, you know, and they don't have that, then that diminishes the quality of the services to which they're supposed to be rendering in those professions. And so now it starts to, you know, permeate, and the ripple effect starts to happen in and out of society. This, I'm gonna enjoy reading the dissertation on these last 24 months. Some years from now, I'm going to enjoy reading someone's dissertation on this. I'm telling you, it's going to be a whole. It's just going to be just a mess, just a mess. I don't know, really. I'm rambling. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
It's all good. El Teddy, do me a favor. Type something in the chat.
Type something in the chat.
Because I don't think I don't think you are. You a mod? I don't know if you're a mod or not.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me see.
All right. So we're going to keep our eye on Chicago Teachers Union as one educator to another. I got your back. Power to the people. Standing in the gap, because I'm currently working for a union that seems to be spineless. So, because they ain't trying to do nothing, child. They ain't arguing for nothing for us. So, I applaud that they are doing what they need to do to keep themselves and their families safe. Because here's the part that I think people forget. People forget that teachers have families too. And just like everybody else is nervous and worried about bringing anything home to their family, guess what? Teachers are worried about the same thing. Teachers have children. Teachers have families. Teachers have elderly parents. All of the above. So, oh yeah, you're good. So at the end of the day, we're worried too. And the same precautions that you guys want to take for you, and when I say, I'm not talking about the people in the chat because y'all with us, but that you guys want to take for your families, we want to take for our families as well. So I don't know. Like I said, I could see if they were saying they didn't want to work at all, but all they were saying was we want to work from home, and the numbers support it. Now, Lori Lightfoot then gave a whole press conference saying that the numbers don't support it and the science don't support it. And I just want to know what numbers in science she's looking at. Because the governor of Maryland, who literally 2 weeks ago was saying, we're not closing schools, we are determined to keep everybody in school, just called a state of emergency because all of the hospitals in the state of Maryland are overflowing and the ICUs are full and the numbers are so high and we don't have enough testing sites and we're running out of tests. But he literally just said before the holidays, oh no, we're committed to keeping the schools open, and not even a month later, you're declaring a state of emergency.
And that's why I hope that with this pandemic, we have learned not to be making these, statements that are, definitive, superlative statements that, politicians, there's no way we're going to really, because if I'm not mistaken, every time y'all think y'all got it together, Mother Nature says, that's what you're doing? You sure now that's what you got? Well, how about this? And then when you say, okay, we got you there. Oh, you sure? You positive, right? Because last time I checked, they just came up with something called Flu-Rona. I don't even know what that is, what it means. It sounds like something like the Bloods and Crips decided to get together and form their own new big super gang. And now that's what we have with Flu-Rona. Okay.
Right. Like listen, the Crips and the Bloods have a line, okay? Right. The Crips and the Bloods have made a truce, and now they are coming for you.
They're going to come and make a super gang. And then they said they found a new variant of corona, of the COVID, in France. And that one has 46 plus mutations. And it's probably going to be worse.
Exactly. And Asia, you're absolutely correct. Asia from Brooklyn said, I just think if they close schools, they need to close a lot of other things too to mitigate the spread. And that's exactly. And that's what we're saying. We're saying that that's why they don't want to close schools, and that they're not closing schools because they don't want to deal with what else they would have to adjust, change. You know what I'm saying? Because if they close schools, then yes, they do have to take into consideration that there's some parents who can't go to work. But again, and I get it. Listen, I get it. But what I also get is people are sick. People are still dying. Contrary to what they want y'all to believe in the news, people are still dying from this. Unlike your boy, Marco Rubio, who said he can't believe that people are acting this way over a sore throat.
Dear God, help us, Lord. Like, what do y'all want me to do with these people? What do y'all want me to do with these people?
He said they just got a sore throat, El Teddy. You don't understand why people are missing work for 10 days over a sore throat.
the same. Well, what about the fact that we have the same Governor Hot Wheels out here who has banned mask mandates in school and who has said basically we wide open out here in the wild, wild west of Texas, just wide open. Now Governor Hot Wheels is on the line trying to get federal dollars and funds to help with COVID relief because the state is overrun. Their hospitals are overrun. Their clinics are overrun. All of their healthcare facilities and professionals, they don't have. There's no more room in the inn. There's literally no more room in the inn. And I know we just came out of the Christmas season, but that's what we got going on. What y'all got going on? I don't know what y'all want from me. I don't know because, and I think, like I said, and now we said this on this channel as well. Really be remember, roll back the tape. She can roll back the tape for y'all. Before the school year started, I remember saying some people may want to think about the virtual school because we said there's going to come a time in this school year where it's going to shut back down. And we said the smart thing to do, go ahead. If I'm a parent, maybe I just decide, you know what? You're just going to do virtual this year so I don't have to have any interruptions in the, in the program, in my, educational process. And maybe I hire me an extra tutor or someone who can give my child that extra. Because let's be clear, those people who have money and influence, their kids ain't missing not a moment of education. Their kids ain't missing nothing.
Did I not? I said that 2 years ago. Did I not?
You sure did.
I said that 2 years ago.
They need. They have all of the extra added help. They have every electronic, online, virtual program that they can use to, remediate and all of those things that they need. And for all of the talk, and we as well, not I don't want to speak for the whole of teachers, but a lot of us teachers do have a lot of real issues with online and virtual learning. But let's be clear. Many of us were raised in a generation where, technology was not then where it is today. Whereas our kids are completely opposite. They prefer virtual and online. That is their happy place. That is their life. And they can adjust. They can learn. It's just that we need to know and have the proper tools and the right pedagogy and the right, skill sets with which to properly facilitate education. And I think that people are just unyielding at this point to do that. Think about when we first started to hear about differentiated instruction and how some of that old regime that done retired wanted no parts of it. And everybody was kind of forced to say, no, you're going to have to do this whether or not you want to. And I think that we're getting to a point where there will be this shift where, yeah, we want to be in the classroom, but we're going to have to get to a point where there's going to have to be a good percentage of the education field that is going to be virtual, and we have to accept that. They've done it in college successfully for many, many people, even before COVID. So we have to understand that this is reality. This is what we got to change.
So I have a feel-good story. You want to transition to my feel-good story?
Oh, transition. So
the feel-good story, and this is coming from The Root. This article is dated Saturday, January the 1st. January the 1st. Oh my gosh.
It was a great day. A great day was had by all.
We're not going to talk about what happened on January the 1st.
A great day.
It was a day, all right. Okay. So Governor Gretchen Whitmire signs a bill that will reopen Michigan's only HBCU. For those who don't know, historical Black college and university. So Pensole founder Dwayne Edwards had a mission to reopen the Lewis College of Business. It was a Detroit-based historically Black college and university founded by the late Violet T. Lewis that sadly closed in 2013. Thankfully, after proposing draft legislation back in October to reopen the school, Governor Gretchen Whitmire signed House Bill 5447, and 5448 on Tuesday for the school to reopen its doors in March of 2022. Now to be known as the Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design, the only Black HBCU. I'm sorry. Isn't all HBCUs Black? Okay, I'm sorry. In Michigan, I'm not being funny, but are all of them, hence the name, historical Black college university? Okay. In Michigan, and the first HBCU to close and reopen in the United States, Governor Whitmire spoke about signing the legislation. She said, "I'm proud to play a part in helping reopen the Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design in Detroit. I am committed to expanding educational opportunities for Michiganders across our state to put Michigan
first. They call themselves Michiganders.
Michiganders, that's what it says here. The bills were sponsored by by Representative Joe Tate, Democrat, and Representative Pamela Hornberger, Republican. She's from Chesterfield. He's from Detroit. I was proud to work with colleagues on both sides of the aisle and the governor to have an HBCU back in the city of Detroit. I look forward to seeing the Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design create valuable opportunities for students and businesses across Michigan and Detroit." And then it just goes on to talk about, it reopening and all that good stuff. Yeah. So it looks like some of the sponsors were the Gilbert Family Foundation, Target, and Dwayne Edwards, who's the future president of the college, will fund the school's free tuition model. CCS President Don Tusky offered his thoughts. Okay, and it just goes on to talk about what he said. So I knew that this was going to be a whole S show, since we had so much to talk about with COVID and the response. So I thought that was a good feel-good story.
Well, I'm looking to see. I would love to read this free tuition model that they have there to see, get more details on what that means.
Yeah, I definitely need more details on all of this.
Mm-hmm. We may need to follow up on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some thoughts, but we're gonna on its surface, we're gonna give it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be glad about any.
And we do know that Gretchen, the governor of Michigan, got some issues. Like we listen. We ain't forgot about you, Gretchen.
I mean, it could be worse. It definitely could be worse.
It could be Marjorie Green sponsoring this.
Gretchen is not that bad. Gretchen is not hell. I'm just glad they ain't kidnapped the woman and try. Remember, they was trying to kidnap that woman, and
they were trying to kidnap her.
Lord, I mean, that ain't got enough to deal with.
Now this is the last this is more of an opinion piece, but I pulled it because it is directly connected to our last show. If you guys didn't see our last show before the holidays, please go back and check it out. But we basically were asking the question, is our education system broken? And even if you take COVID out of the equation, there are so many issues right now going on in education. We were discussing, and that's not a question that clearly can't be. I mean, that's not a question that's going to be answered in an hour. But we were sparking the conversation, and so I saw this. This is coming from Ed Weekly, and this is an opinion piece, and it's coming from the point of view of a principal. I think a lot of times we come from the point of view of teachers, but this is coming from a principal, and so I wanna just read this. This is Lisa Mead. Let me tell you who Lisa Mead is. Lisa Mead is a principal in an upstate New York school. She has previously served as an assistant superintendent, a pupil personnel services director, and a special education teacher. Lisa was NASSP's 2005 Principal of the Year. 2015, Principal of the Year. So that's her resume. But I want to read you guys this a little bit. She wrote this, and again, this is more of an opinion piece. I sat in the cold conference room with my fellow administrators, and the tears began to fill my eyes. Luckily, we were all masked and spaced apart. Few likely knew I was crying. Leaders aren't supposed to fall apart, and here I was doing just that. I couldn't help myself and let the tears drop. Without realizing it, I did one of those ugly sniffles to keep my nose from running. My colleagues asked me if I needed to talk. I mumbled something about being okay and quickly exited the room. By the time I was back in my office, I had figured out how to stuff the feelings back down to the pit of my stomach. I carried on with the work in front of me. I've been suppressing those suffocating feelings of inadequacy since the school year began. My entire career, I have seen my work in education as a calling more than just a job. I've always felt thankful to be an educator. However, this year is the most difficult I have faced in 29 years. It turns out I am not alone. A recent poll by the National Association of Secondary School Principals and Learning Policy Institute revealed that 42% of principals across the country said the pandemic has accelerated their plans to leave the profession. That's too many of our school leaders feeling as if there is nowhere to turn but away. What has happened within the last 2 years has created more damage to our schools than what COVID did on its own. Yes, COVID forced us to adjust student and teacher schedules. Busing routes were expanded to allow for more spacing on buses. Wearing masks and standing 6 feet apart in line became routine. Delivering hand sanitizer and alcohol wipes to classrooms was standard practice. Contact tracing became a principal's side hustle as every call from an equally overworked nurse about a possible exposure required a review of a student's schedule and every seating chart to determine who else might be considered a contact. In addition, schools held vaccine clinics and coordinated testing sites. That all took time, but those tasks eventually became manageable. But here's what hasn't become feasible. We are not only in a COVID pandemic, but we are also struggling to survive in an emotionally devoid epidemic. Grace and forgiveness are scarce. The stress and mental health of students, teachers, and leaders is high. We can't rely on routine as there isn't much of one left, and our hopes about finally returning to a typical school year this year have evaporated. Staff shortages are rampant in many fields, and schools are not alone in being able to fill vacancies. Teachers are covering classes when substitutes can't be found and giving up prep time to do so. Students who have not physically interacted day to day for the better part of 18 months are now back in school trying to remember the social and academic organizational skill set they once had. Understandable worry as pervasive and as families deal with the trauma and fallout from the pandemic. Students can't help but bear the hurt on their backs. Whatever our students carry, our teachers, support staff, and even office staff feel it too and carry the equal weight. It's so much for everyone. Schools are losing in the social media court of public opinion every day. That is important. Highlight that, circle it, put a stamp on that. I'm going to read it one more time for the people in the back. Schools are losing in the social media court of public opinion every day. There are both academic and emotional losses to be overcome in our schools. Meanwhile, an equally significant loss is pending in our schools: loss of people. Teachers are tired, and so are the principals. Empathy and appreciation are missing. Grace, forgiveness, patience, stick-with-itness, and a willingness to work together will be what is needed to get all of us through this school year. Should you have the chance to offer grace or support to an educator in your community, I hope you will. You may be surprised by how just a few words of encouragement will make a difference. Everybody needs somebody sometime. I thought that was a really, really good think piece. Again, it's not just the pandemic, people. We as an education system in this country are in crisis. And I think it's being overshadowed by the pandemic. But let's be clear. We were already in a teacher shortage before COVID. This has accelerated because when I tell y'all, I have an education Twitter, meaning I have a Twitter where all I do is follow things dealing with education, and that's where I tweet from things going on at my school and all that kind of stuff. When I tell you that on a regular basis, I'm getting tweets saying, I got a tweet literally last night that said, just got an email that my principal is quitting effective immediately. Like, he ain't coming back tomorrow. So I get those kind of tweets all the time where someone says, Hey, my superintendent just quit. Hey, I just had 2 teachers retire. Hey, we had a teacher retire over the Christmas holiday. We knew they were retiring, but and El Teddy, you can attest to this, and people, educators in the chat, y'all tell me as well. If you've been in teaching longer than 10 years, really longer than 5 years, that was unthinkable. That was unheard of that teachers would leave in the middle of the school year. Teachers waited to, even if they were retiring, they either retired at the beginning of the school year or they just worked out a whole year. Teachers didn't just leave in the middle of the school year, and they definitely didn't leave with no notice. For a principal to quit with no notice, and he was going into the private sector. He wasn't leaving for a better job in education. That's what the other part of her tweet. He wasn't leaving for a better job in education. He was leaving the profession, which is the other problem, that people are leaving the profession.
Let me tell you what this is, what I think about when I think of where we are. Think about when you watch, I'm going to say like a Charmin toilet paper commercial where they try to prove how strong the toilet paper is, and they'll wet it and they'll have it suspended and they'll stick a little ice cube on it and you like, oh, it's gonna break. The education system is that wet piece of toilet paper with the ice cube on it before COVID. When COVID came, what they did was they put a 5-gallon jug of water on top of the ice cube and said, well, I hope this wet piece of Charmin holds it up. See how strong it is.
See how strong it is.
Knowing full well it can't support that. It was barely supporting the ice cube. And now you done stuck a 5-gallon jug of water sitting on top of the ice cube. It's not, and so there is going to be a break of some type. And I'm not saying the whole of the education system in America is about to break, but the stuff that we've been talking about earlier, the reverberations of this and things that are going to happen because of this aren't going to be easily fixed. Something's going to break. Something at some point has to give. They already wasn't given enough money in education. They already weren't. And you would think that they would offer people who still are deciding to go and teach more money to do that, and they're not. I ain't heard not one person talking about this school year from places I've been like, oh, they're giving us more money. They all talk about, no, we ain't got a dime more. They ain't even told us nothing about no collective bargaining to get no more money. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you say, you listen, enough is enough. And what COVID has taught us is more and more, the reasons you have so many people retiring is more and more Americans are saying, I don't have to go and be bothered with that job. I don't have to go and be bothered with driving in rush hour traffic and go through all of this heartache and pain. I will work from home, not be bothered, not even have to go buy a whole outfit. I could just buy the top. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And never have to leave my house. We got DoorDash, we got Instacart, we got everything. I don't need to leave my house. I don't need to see you people. And if I need some sun, I'll go in my backyard and not be bothered. And you know, people, it's going to get to the point where people are, well, I'm not going to say it's going to get to, it is at the point and past the point where people are saying, I'm just tired. That's enough. I have to choose myself at some point. And that's something that even before the pandemic, we would always say. The problem comes in the education field where the teachers are always asked to think of everyone else beside themselves. Oh, what about the students? Oh, what about the parents? Oh, what about the community? Oh, what about administration? Oh, what about everybody else? And it's never what about the workforce, the teachers.
Never.
And there is the problem.
It's never about it. It's never, ever about, you know, and again, I get it, you know, and here's the thing. I do my job. I love my job. But like you said, there's a breaking point that everybody has. And I just think that when we come out of this panorama and people can no longer use that as the excuse. And when I mean come out of it, I mean get it to a manageable place, because I don't think it's ever going. We're never getting out of, like, COVID is not going anywhere. We just have to get to a place where we can function, like with the flu or anything else, any other type of contagious type thing. We have to get to that place, and we're just not there yet. But when we get to that point and people can no longer use that as the example, then people are going to really figure it out. And, you know, I said this before about just across the board. The one thing that's going to come out of COVID is moving slower than I kind of expected it to, but it's going to have to happen. They're going to have to increase teachers' pay, not just teachers' pay, people's pay. Because the workforce as a whole is suffering. Because you know what people realize? People realize life is too short for me to deal with all the shit you, excuse my language, but put up with everything you want me to put up with for $7 an hour, $8 an hour, $9 an hour, hell, $10 an hour, $15, whatever minimum wage is in your area, because it's different across the board. But people realize that life is too short. So Cam said, are you guys being adequately supported by your school?
The school administration is being supported. We just read the article where the principal was saying, I'm not even getting what I need. So you know that has a trickle-down effect.
You know what, Born Earth? Born Earth said it was unthinkable, and we're going to take these last couple of comments and we're going to get ready. Y'all know we like to keep y'all to an hour, and then but it was unthinkable to leave mid-school year pre-COVID, I think, because educators waited until the end of the year because they needed recommendations. No, but no, they stayed because they didn't want their students. Yeah, that's not no, they didn't stay because they needed a recommendation. Because let's be clear, if you give a 2 weeks notice, you're good. They stayed because of because even retirement. Notice I said retirement as well. Teachers didn't retire in mid-school year. I think prior to the last couple of years, in my 20 years of education prior to the last few shut up. Prior to the last few years, I can count on one. I can only count one, and I'm not even exaggerating, y'all. One person that retired mid-school year, and they retired over Christmas break. They still retired. They didn't just come to work one day and be like, yeah, I'm putting in my papers. I'm out. They literally retired. And you know the other thing? Teachers didn't rush to retire. When I first started teaching, there were teachers working that could have retired 3-4 years ago, and they were still working. That's the other thing, too. But anyway, with that being said, y'all, as always.
Thank you, Crispies, for the Cash App.
Oh, well, I was going to say congratulations. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was great. Congratulate you. Anyway, as always, thank you guys for being here. I definitely, yeah, Teacher Guild is real. It is. It is a real deal. It is a real thing. I appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, we definitely have some things planned for 2022. We want to get some interviews going and bring some other people on to talk with us and bounce things up. Y'all know how we feel about stuff, but you know, kind of like The View, we want to get some other people in here to hear what they have to say. Maybe some fresh blood. If you are in the chat and you are in education and you would like to join us, by all means, Crispies, I did get your email. I forwarded to El Teddy about the superintendent down that you guys have that came out of Miami.
Yeah, I know. I have all of this. I know where all of the skeletons are hidden. I know everything. I'll do a expose.
An expose
on Alberto Carvalho.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of stuff we want to kind of add to the channel. Coming up, like I said, I told El Teddy an idea that I have. He laughed at me, but not laughed at me because it was a bad idea, but laughed at me because
not let that lady go. Let that woman live. Let her live. Let that woman
because of some things. Anyway, with that being said, we definitely have some things coming your way in 2022. We want to thank everybody who has been here and rocking with us almost from the beginning. People who always, a couple of you guys shared the video out today, and I appreciate it. We have 31 people in the chat. If you are not subscribe to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It is free 99. Okay, it is free 99. And now I'm going to be quiet and let the doctor have final thoughts.
You didn't even say nothing about my new glasses. See how much you pay attention.
You know what? I did. No. I actually did notice them, but then I was thinking, are they new? Like, you know how when you notice, and so I'm like, are they new and I missed it before, or are they new for real new? But I noticed that these are a little like Mr. Peabody. They're a little smaller because you had like the Malcolm X ones before.
Mm-hmm.
These are little. I noticed. I just didn't know when I noticed. I didn't know if they were new now or if they were new before, but I did notice. Anyway, go ahead, child.
Definitely. Once again, happy Founders Day to all of my fellow Kappas out there. All of y'all, especially my educators. We got a lot of educators that are brothers. A lot of educators that are brothers.
There's a lot of the Divine Nine in education.
Yeah. There's a whole the Divine Nine section of Black Educators Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And as teachers, we all know BER. I mean,
yeah.
Shouts out to all of you all, D9 and definitely my frat brothers. But listen, we are here for y'all in 2022. Myself and Really B, we are excited about what this year has to offer, and we are going to push, and be about the business of Teacher Project 2.0. And I would love the day where we can lay our regular channels down and say we just doing Teacher Project 2.0, here on out, because that's just, the other channel ain't doing what Teacher Project 2.0 is doing, so we just gonna put all our, stuff in that.
Thank you, Crispies. I got a Cash App too. Thank you, boo.
Mm-hmm. So Really B and I are working hard to bring stuff to you all and make sure that we give you all cutting edge information and point of view. And like she said, we're going to bring other people so y'all don't think we're just the crazy ones that think the way we do, but that you see that there are other people out there and there are other opinions. And with that being said, I think that is all we have. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah.
All right. And with that being said, we are out. Peace.